What's up, guys, and welcome back to Every Single Sunday, the motorcycle channel where we pretty much do it all. Today's video, we're going to be talking tires because tires are a super important part of what we do as motorcycle riders. Today's video is going to be more towards the adventure segment, and we're going to talk about a tire that took me from the US all the way down to Copper Canyon, Bato Pilas, Mexico, on a week-long vacation, and how I ended up picking this tire, why I thought this would be the best tire, and my overall thoughts on it. So in today's video, we're going to check out the Dunlop Trailmax Raid, which is like a 60/40 tire, and you guys are going to want to stick around for this one. So let's dive right into this and talk about the perfect tire. And I'm going to go right ahead and say that the perfect tire does not exist. Now, what does exist is the perfect tire for your conditions. That basically means that if you're going on a trip that's going to be primarily off-road, you'll want one thing. If you're going to be riding to Starbucks 4 states away in the highway, that's going to require a different tire. So coming up with a tire for your trip is going to be key. So this trip we're taking was 7 days long, about 1,300 or 1,400 miles. It was going to consist of 2 days of asphalt getting down to Copper Canyon, 3 days of rocky off-road through Copper Canyon, and 2 days back up to the US. I could have selected a more off-road based tire. It might have been better in the rocky stuff for those 3 days, and it really would have struggled on the 2 days of twisties heading down to Bato Pilas. For me, I'm a pretty good off-road rider. I'm not the best on-road rider, so I want something that's going to feel safe and confidence-inspiring through all these twisty roads, getting me down there and getting me back up to the US. I know that I can take a slick tire, a 50/50 tire, something through the rocky stuff, and I'm going to be okay, but I also wanted to have a tire that was still going to be fun and made me feel confident with all the luggage on my bike while going through all this terrain. So that being said, I sat down and made a list of tires I wanted to possibly take on this trip. It was the Dunlop Trailmax Missions, which are a 50/50 tire. We looked at some of the Motaz rally stuff. We looked at the new Tusk 2 track. And I reached out to Bo at Ready to Ride Rentals, who I'm going with on this trip, and said, hey, do we want something that's going to be more street oriented or more dirt? And we both agreed that we wanted to go with something in the middle and not a full knobby. So we looked and looked, and we came up between Dunlop Trailmax Mission and Dunlop Trailmax Raid. I've run the Missions before. I know they're pretty good on the asphalt. I know they struggle a little bit in the looser dirt, but we could have made it. So that's what led us to the Dunlop Trailmax Raid, a new tire that myself and Bo from Ready to Ride Rentals hadn't run before. So we decided this was going to be the tire for our trip, and this is how it went for us. So let's go ahead and start with street performance and how this Dunlop Trailmax Raid performed on the road, because we had 2 days down to Copper Canyon and then 2 days back up after our few days of off-road down there. So we got very, very acquainted with how this tire did. It was smooth, it was quiet, and it worked great. Day one had quite a bit of highway. We were just blowing past semi-trucks, passing 80, 90, 100 miles an hour. I balanced mine. My bike was buttery smooth. Bo, he didn't balance his because, well, it's Bo. I rode his a bit. Even without balancing him, it was very, very smooth and pretty damn close to perfect. Once we got into the canyons, we kind of eased our way in there because we're primarily off-road guys that ride small bikes. But by the end of the trip, we were using the whole tire. There was no more chicken strips on either side. We were railing stuff in and out until we almost went head on with a semi at one point. I don't have video of that. But anyway, these tires were so damn good. The transitions back and forth were smooth. There was no weird spots halfway down the tire. They just ran great the entire time and could not have performed better. Now, if you're asking about wet performance, I live in Southern California. It doesn't rain here. I don't really know what to tell you on that. I feel like they worked great, but if you're looking for a wet review, that's not going to happen today. All right, so let's go ahead and jump into the off-road performance of this tire. The street stuff, that's great, but we expect it to be. Off-road is a whole different monster, especially when you start playing with adventure bike tires. This Dunlop Trailmax Raid is a 60/40 tire, meaning it's 60% dirt, 40% asphalt. That is a big chunk to ask a lot from a tire to go ride off-road when it's made to work 40% on the street. So let's talk about smooth dirt roads, stuff that's packed down. It's basically a paved road, but it's dirt. These tires are fantastic in this element. There's no sand, there's no loose rocks, there's no mud. This is very packed down, and these tires work better than a knobby because there's more surface area on them. I'm going to trust them to accelerate smooth. I'm going to trust them to brake well. They work very, very good in this situation, but most tires in this category do work here. I just think these are a little bit more than that. So I'm very comfortable on a hard packed surface with these tires, even if it's dirt. Moving into a very similar surface, a packed dirt road, but now let's put a little bit of loose, small dirt on top or some pine needles, some stuff that's going to allow it to move around and you're not 100% hooked up on it like you were with that perfect condition dirt road. These tires still worked very, very good. We experienced hours and hours of riding where there was just pine needles all the way across the road. And I was a little more skeptical, I'm not going to lie. I didn't want to lean the bike over as much. I didn't trust the braking as much, but they never did anything weird. Maybe once or twice, pushing very, very hard, I'd have the front end start to slide. And we all know that's a very, very scary feeling. But it came right back in right away. It gathered it up. I didn't have any close calls that really scared me, but they do work. So I'm still on board with this, because if I was running a knobby tire in that same situation, it probably would have performed very similar, except it would not have been as hooked up on the pavement portion. As the conditions worsen, let's start talking about worse conditions. So this is going to be sand, this is going to be loose dirt, but not so much rocks yet. Big bikes do not like sand. I've been on plenty of knobby tires that are just awful in the sand, that feel vague and give you an inconsistent feeling. These tires worked fairly well. I knew what I was going to get out of them. They never did anything erratic on me. Yeah, sand, the bike starts to wander back and forth. It's weird. It doesn't feel super great, but they track well. And as long as you're respectful of them and you know what you're riding, they work very good. So I'm going to give these a thumbs up in the loose dirt / sand section as well. Moving past the sand and into the rocks, we're not talking full-on hard enduro stuff here, but we're talking a double track road that people are going to take their adventure bikes on that have some good boulders the size of softballs and maybe some smaller stuff mixed in as well. On a big bike like this, these types of roads are all about momentum. If you want to stop on an uphill and expect your bike to start, it's going to dig a hole. It doesn't matter if you're on a full knobby. It doesn't matter if you're on a street slick. It doesn't matter if you're on a Dunlop Trailmax Raid. It's hard to get these bikes moving, and these tires worked as expected. Yes, a knobby tire would have been better here for braking, for cornering, all that stuff. But like I said, I'm a fairly good adventure rider / dirt bike rider. I'm comfortable in the dirt, and these tires did everything I wanted them to do. Yep, back to the knobbies, we probably would have had a little bit more fun and we would have run even faster in these off-road sections, but I'm happy with what this tire did. It worked good, it was predictable, it just stayed under us like we expected it to. It didn't do weird stuff that scared us and made us lose confidence in the tire. Talking about even looser terrain such as mud or snow, this is not going to be a tire you want to take into either of those conditions. On this trip, we did experience a little bit of mud in some of the water crossings, and it's pretty dang slick. You have to pay attention and make sure to keep the bike balanced correctly. Luckily, we did see some snow, but it was on the side of the road only, and we didn't have to ride through that. A tire like this is going to pack up. It's going to basically be a slick and not something you want to be on. So to wrap this whole video up and give you an overall look at this tire, I'll just tell you how this went down. Me and Bo got back to Phoenix and we talked about so many aspects of this trip, of where we went and what we saw and all this, but one thing we touched on was tires. And we both agree that we picked the perfect tire for this. Me and him, not being big road guys, we had so much fun in the canyons and the highways riding down there. We don't think that those 4 days of asphalt riding would have been nearly as much fun if we had been on a knobby tire. We would have been scared or riding a little bit slower. So being on this tire on the asphalt was completely, it was just great. It was so much fun, and it made those 4 days of asphalt riding even better than we expected. The 3 days of off-road through the canyons, we both had a great time on this tire. We trusted it. It went everywhere we wanted it to. No one got flat tires. It did everything we needed from an adventure bike tire. So as a whole, we both give this tire 2 thumbs up, beyond our expectations, and we think you should give it a try as well. So anyway, guys, if you like the video, give us the thumbs up thing, hit the subscribe, all that fun stuff. And yeah, get out there, get some adventure, have some fun, and go ride your motorcycle.